Hello there everyone, and welcome to another edition of Lydia's Crafty Corner. So today I'm going to be sharing with you 3 cards, each using the same technique with just a different outline on each of the images. So we're going to be doing a little bit of watercolor colouring effect on some vellum. It's really simple and easy to do, and I think it's beautiful and soft as well. So to start with, I'm going to be using this large image from Charmed stamp set, and I'm going to be stamping this on to some vellum. And as I said, I'm going to stamp this 3 times using the same image, but I'm going to be using a different outline on each. So for this first one, I'm going to be stamping this with some embossing ink. This is my favorite embossing ink from Altenew. It's so super sticky, and we do have a refill as well, so that is a great one to have when you do have the ink pad. So I'm just going to stamp that down. Sorry, I am using a Misty just in case I didn't get my stamping perfectly, but I'm good to go with that one. So the first one, I'm going to be using some rose gold embossing powder. This is my favorite gold embossing powder. It's so beautiful, and it does have a little tinge of that rose to it. Once I have covered the image, I've just tapped it all off to make sure I didn't have any pieces that I didn't want in the places, and then I have heat set that. I've then turned my piece of vellum around, and I'm inking this again using the embossing ink, making sure it's nicely stamped. And then this time I'm going to be using some pure white embossing powder from Altenew. Again, my go-to white embossing powder. It just heats up so beautiful, and it is a beautiful bright white. So I'm just going to heat that up. You know when it's finished, when it's all nice and shiny and all the powder is gone. For the third image, I'm then going to stamp using some Stays On ink. This is some black solvent-based ink. And if you use this ink, you are going to want to make sure that you do clean your stamp really well afterwards. So these are my 3 images, and you can see how beautiful they are, and I'm just going to turn them over so I'm colouring onto the back side of these. You don't want to colour onto the front because you may go over the lines. With the Stays On ink, it will smudge as well because that is alcohol based. So for the centres of the flowers, I'm using some artist markers. I'm using artist markers all the way through, but this is the caramel toffee, and I'm just dabbing in some colour into the centres. I'm just decided to zoom in a little bit so you can see a little bit more about what is happening. So again, this is the caramel toffee, and I'm just dabbing in that colour to the centre. Once I've finished with the caramel toffee, I'm going to take some warm sunshine, and this is from the artist set C as well as the caramel toffee, sorry, I should have said. And I'm just going around the caramel toffee with the warm sunshine just to create a blended effect there. So it's so easy. I'm just kind of dabbing it rather than colouring the image at this point. I do end up doing a little bit more of a colouring on the next one. For the petals, I'm still using marker set C. I have Lavender Fields, some Deep Iris, and some Caribbean Sky. As you can see to the side, I've already coloured some of the images in, but I wanted to show you a little bit more up close and personal on how I do this. So all I do is I go with the Lavender Fields first, so this is the lightest colour, and then while that's nice and wet, I then dab in the other colours, and you can see how well they blend and bleed and do give a really cool watercolour look. So again, I'm working really quickly on this, so that Lavender Fields ink is still wet when I dab the other colours into it. So you can see how quickly I am working. Just adding the Lavender Fields down first, and a little touch of Deep Iris, and then a little touch of that Caribbean Sky. And I love these colours all working together. You are going to want to use colours that do match together, so things that are close on the colour wheel, because you don't want to get any mucky brown colours in your flowers. So I'm just going to dab that, and then once I've finished with the flowers, I'm then going to move on to the leaves, and I'm just going to be using 2 markers for this. These are both from marker set A, so we have Frayed Leaf and Forest Glades. I'm going down first with the Frayed Leaf, dabbing in some Forest Glades to the darkest parts of the leaves, so the bases, and then going over again with the Frayed Leaf if I need to. Some of them I do, some of them I don't, but I do love how that keeping the ink wet, so working really quickly, does make the ink blend and bleed on its own. Really, really pretty, and it does give you a watercolor effect there. So these are the 3 images, and they do look rather different, all of them together with the different outlines. I'm then going to fussy cut all of them out, and I did speed this bit up a little bit because you don't want to be watching me cut out them all. So once they're all cut, you can see how different they do all look there. For the sentiments, I'm going to be using the Cotton Comfort stamp set, and I've just stamped 3 of the sentiments on 2 strips of white cardstock, so I can use these to adhere down my images. So I have added some foam tape behind the sentiment. Once I've popped it onto the image, I'm then going to add a little bit of tape behind the image. Because this is vellum, you're going to want to hide your adhesive, and I find that this is the best way to do it with a solid sentiment strip. I do try to make these cards a little bit different with the placement of all of the images, but you know, you can really play around with this. You could add 2 images onto the same card if you wanted to, but I would recommend you do the same outline if you're going to do it that way. So I'm just going to play around with these. Again, I'm adding the sentiment strip onto the image with some foam tape, turning it over, then adding some super sticky tape behind, and then I'm just adhering this down. So the only place that this is adhered is behind that sentiment strip, and the sentiment strip with the foam tape onto the card. And because the vellum is so very light, it doesn't really matter. It's not going to move anywhere. So these are the 3 cards. You can see how different they look. The white outline gives a really, really soft look, while the gold outline I think gives more of a decadent look and a bit more shine and sparkle on that one. And the black one, the black outline, is a classic. It's perfect as well. So these are the 3 cards. I'm really liking how they all turned out, especially using the 3 different outlines. Gives you 3 different looks in one, even with the same colouring techniques behind. So thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you do want to watch any more videos, there's a couple more here for you to watch. And if you don't want to miss out on anything that we do upload to the channel, it would be great if you do subscribe. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again really, really soon. Bye-bye.